One of the most important things a modern day man can do is take control of his mind, to make the thoughts that are negative disappear and to replace them with thoughts that give him power, purpose, and direction. When a man does this, his mind becomes bulletproof, which in turn affects his relationships. He has more intimacy and connection. It affects his wealth. He can grow a business and make more money. And it affects his action-taking ability, where he can move forward in his goals and crush and dominate all of the things that he wants to achieve. But again, it all begins with the mind. And the mind is controlled by something called limiting beliefs and language. So in this podcast episode, we're going to break down the empowered man process for bulletproofing your mind and taking control of your limiting beliefs and language so that you can win and succeed in life. So strap on in, take a bunch of notes, and enjoy today's episode. Back again to talk about one of the most important parts of being a modern day man. So today, as from the intro we mentioned, we're going to be talking about one of the most important things for a man, and that is what goes on in his head. Like how to make your mind bulletproof and able to handle anything. Because when you think about it, the only two things preventing you from having an amazing relationship, lots of money, great connection with your children, any success in your life, the only thing really holding you back is how you do it. So like your actions, which is your body, like you can only move with your body. You can only walk and run or exercise with your body. You can only talk with your body. Your body is like your vehicle of life. But then what controls your body is your mind. Your mind is the thing that gets you to your goals. And so many men struggle mentally. Like we are in an epidemic, aren't we? What's shocking about modern day men, think about this for a second, is there is more anxiety, depression, divorce, obesity. Like there are more problems than ever before, but there are more coaches, podcasts, mentors. There's more free information out there than ever before. Why is this happening? Is because as men, we haven't been taught how to control this. And what's really cool is everything that goes on up here is framed in language and it's a story. And the only person who chooses what goes on up here is you. Now, it might be hard to do that when you're feeling low. When I was depressed, it was hard. But if you just remember that you're in control of your thoughts, no one controls them for you, and you believe that in your core, you will win and you will succeed. Most men struggle to do that, right? So let's start today with the story. Sam, do you like stories?
I love stories.
What's your favorite story?
My favorite, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I actually love listening to you share stories though, because you really take us to the moment. Like it's really cool. So
Okay, cool. I'm going to take you to a moment right now. It's a bit dirty though. You ready? I'm just kidding. So we've been talking the last few weeks about everything a man needs, like a morning routine, an evening routine, a code of ethics, like a process for dealing with problems. That's what they teach in the Empowered Man program. Every man needs accountability, education, a plan, like all fine and well. But you got to have the mindset to control that. And your mindset is everything. So I've been dealing with a lot of pressure recently. I'm on day 48 of not having a break. I've worked every day since the start of the year. That's a big problem. You shouldn't do that. I've been eating a bit of glass to build my team, but we now have the entire team in place, including you and the rest of the guys. I've got a team of 8 at the Empowered Man now, and it's all coming to fruition where next week I'm going to be able to switch off. But the last 2 weeks, I've been feeling this intense pressure, and it's affecting my relationship with Rosie, where I'm more irritable. I even noticed that it was affecting my relationship with my daughter, Talia, who's 18 months old. I've, for the first time in a very long time, been grumpy towards her. So we're working at the kitchen table with my mate, James. We're doing some videography stuff. Talia's climbing all over us, and I'm getting triggered and upset at her. And I'm like, Talia, leave us alone. I'm not yelling, but I'm definitely raising my voice. And then I feel this guilt afterwards. I'm like, fuck, like this is what I teach. What am I doing here? I have the plan. I have the accountability. I realized yesterday or a few days ago, it all came to a front when a wife of one of our clients, we currently have 150 men we work with, business owners, husbands, fathers. If you're listening to this, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. We have 150 men, and we have like some of Australia's most successful men, and we have guys who are just employed. Like if you're listening to this and you want to work with us, we have a program, right? And one of these guys, I won't say his name, he's been crushing it. When he came to us, his relationship was falling apart. He was burnt out. He was stressed. He was overwhelmed. He's dying, right? Really successful in business, making money. So he comes into our 8-week program, the Empowered Man method, crushes it, gets his energy back, manages his time, making more money, working less. His business is making more. He's working less. He's communicating better. He's in control of his thoughts. But his wife has just latched onto the story that our program is a scam, that we prey on vulnerable men. We've done 48 episodes of this for free. We don't get paid for it, right? We've got hundreds of hours of free content out there. And yes, we have a program. We have programs ranging from $37 to $48,000. Shocking. We run a business, right? But this woman, she's the second one in a couple of months who really just hates me and hates the program. We got an email a few months ago from somebody saying like, fuck you, I'm going to sue you, like kia kaha fucker. That's how they finished it, which means good day fucker, good day in Maori and Kiwi. So anyway, long story short, this woman just hates us, and she says to this man, it's either me or the program. And he decides for the next 2 months, he's going to sacrifice his own health and his own happiness to try and fix the relationship. And he left the program. And this guy's crushing it. Like everything's better, his health, wealth, relationships. I'm sharing that story because that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got really upset. I was like, fuck, man, am I just a horrible person? Like, is this woman right? Am I just like scamming all these men who pay us money to fix their life? And then I was like, of course I'm not. Money is an exchange of value. Divorce lawyers, they're scam artists. People pay us money. We provide them with the solution. But I had to get my mindset. I had to get my stories out of, I'm not good enough. I should be doing better. I failed this man. He should be committed. It's all just stories, right? And it's funny because that's a mirror for this woman, because her story is, they're a scam. This isn't good enough. My husband's going to outgrow me. She's got all these beliefs and stories which have caused her now to, instead of supporting her husband and loving her husband and appreciating, respecting her husband, limiting him and restricting him in his own growth. Can you see the power of the mind?
Mm-hmm.
And all of that's a story. Whereas we have other partners' wives who are like, this program's changed his life. He's so much happier, so much healthier. They're all just stories, right? Everything in your life as a man is going to come down to your worldview. Everything in your life as a man that makes you successful is going to come down to your worldview. Your worldview is the way that you see the world. It's got nothing to do with the circumstances or problems in your life. If you have relationship issues, if you have to pay a tax bill, if you get cancer, touch wood, all of those things are challenges. But some men choose to focus on those challenges from a negative frame. They create a story that disempowers them, and they believe things that take their power away. And some men choose to believe something different. They have different thoughts, they have different reactions, and the thoughts dictate the feelings dictate the actions. But you get to choose what goes on up here.
Mm.
It's all to do with your worldview, and your worldview is how you see the world. How do you look at the world? Most men are very negative with the way they look at the world. They believe things that take their power away. So what is this idea behind negative beliefs and negative worldviews, Sam? Where does it come from?
We have this imprinting stage in our lives. It's often between the ages of 0 and 7, loosely, but 0 and 7, where we're soaking up like a sponge, like what we see in the world around us, how our parents relate, how our parents hate each other, how our parents navigate conflict, how the people around us love each other and do all of these things. And from that, we start to form an opinion, a thought, a belief system around how relationships work, how conflict works, how we react, how we act in certain situations. And then we kind of take those experiences, we form our own worldview. And that's like the lens through which we see the world, how we show up, how we act, treat other people, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, legend, if you're getting value from this podcast, then you're going to love our Empowered Man 7-Day Challenge. Inside, we've taken some of the best content our clients invest thousands of dollars for to change their lives, and we've given it to you in the course of 7 days. This challenge is worth over $3,000, and you can get it for $37, 97% off. Inside, we'll teach you how to fix your marriage and relationships and reconnect with your partner, your kids, your wife. We will teach you how to take back your time, how to take back your power, get into powerful routines, and how to take control of your life, take control of your mind, take control of your business, take control of your health, take control of your wealth. Sounds too good to be true, but there's a complete money back guarantee. So if you're enjoying this podcast, go to elitebusinessman.com/challenge. That's elitebusinessman.com/challenge. It's going to be in the call notes as well, and you'll be able to register for this challenge that will completely change your life. If you think about it, most of us are like our parents, aren't we? We all have something that our parents do that really pisses us off or irritates us. We do the exact same thing. One of the biggest things my wife can say to trigger me, and I choose to get triggered, is when she says you're just like your mother. I get so fucking angry because I'm like, don't you dare compare me to my mother. But she's right. There are many, many features. The way I do stress, I get stressed because I look at things from a stressful situation like my mother did, right? So when it comes down to relationships, health, and wealth, it all comes down to the way you see the world, right? Some men are successful and some men are not. Some men have great relationships, some men do not. It's all to do with your worldview. And worldviews are simply belief systems. Beliefs are nothing but feelings of absolute certainty governing our behavior. Beliefs are feelings of nothing but absolute certainty governing our behavior. So when you believe something, it's going to govern the way, aka influence the way that you take action. As an example, let's say you believe that you can't quit smoking. Now you're going to take less action towards quitting smoking. Let's say you get cheated on by your wife. You then create a story, a belief system of nothing but absolute certainty. It's a feeling of certainty. You know, when you feel uncertain, you feel really anxious. You're like, am I making the right decision? It's all feelings, right? So you believe something to be true. You feel in your soul it's true. And then your wife cheats on you. You believe that every woman's going to cheat on you. Now the actions you take are to not go on dates, right? To sabotage relationships. Sam, you're going through a divorce right now. It's almost finalized. So many men, my father did this, they create a story that they'll never find love again or they can't trust a woman. Now, if that feeling is absolute certainty, it's going to govern your behavior. This is the problem though. The second piece of this is when your desires do not align with your belief system, you won't achieve anything. Because think about it. If your belief system is that you will always get cheated on, or that you can't save money, or you can't grow your business, or that it's too hard, or you can't find good stuff. Those are the most common ones we hear, right? If you believe that, but your desire is to find good stuff, or your desire is to be in love, or your desire is to grow a business, there's an incongruency that begins to occur. So you want something, you have a desire, but your belief systems don't align with those desires. The way you see the world, the stories up here don't align with what you want. And therefore, you're actually in a really difficult position where you want something and you're not going to achieve it. And if you do achieve it, it's going to be very, very fucking challenging. Right? So beliefs and worldviews, they go into two different types of dialogue, Sam. Now you coach very, very effectively on this. So what are the two different types of dialogue that go on within a man or outside of a man? Because that's a bit of a catch-22 with how you're going to explain it. If beliefs and language are so important for achieving goals and having health, wealth, relationships mastered, what are the two types of dialogue in belief systems?
So do you mean internal dialogue, like the thoughts and stories? Yeah.
And then the other type is the, I gave you a hint before.
The language?
Yeah, the external dialogue.
Yeah. Absolutely. One thing I'll touch on is so many men get stuck in their belief systems, which, you know, when you believe something, it's only a matter of time before it comes out. So you focus on it internally and it's going to come out of you. How you feed your mind is what will come out in your communication, your language, etc. One of the restrictive things for men is we've never been taught that it can be any different. The thing holding us back is the knowledge that we can actually control these things. Talk to men, you know, week after week that jump on board our program and they're like, I didn't think I could change that. I just thought that was who I was. It's that fixed sort of mindset. But what we feed on, thoughts and stories, it will come out of us. It's like, you know, this popped up on my Facebook feed the other day that I shared it a year ago. You can't always control who knocks on the door of your mind or what thoughts knock on the door of your mind, but you can control whether you allow them in.
Yeah.
And the difference for a lot of men is knowing that we can control it.
Yeah. So true. It's that tea and biscuits analogy that I've used before. Yeah. If you haven't listened to the previous podcast, let's say you have a negative thought or belief system that comes into you, you can't switch it off. The only way you can really control it is by not letting it in the first place. So negative thoughts are normal. You have 80,000 a day. When a negative thought knocks on your door, you have two options. You can let the thought in and feed it tea and biscuits. You can entertain that thought like you entertain a guest. And once you let it into your mind, aka that house, and you entertain it and feed it, it's going to fester, it's going to grow, it's going to drain you down. The next time you have a negative thought, acknowledge that it's knocking on your door and simply say to yourself, I'm not letting you in. I'm going to choose the opposite or equal thought. I'm going to choose something different to you to let into here. I don't think I'm good enough. I'm going to choose to let in the thought that I am good enough. I can't do this. I'm going to choose to let in the thought that I can do this. And you just reject the thoughts from being entertained by you, and you let the positive thoughts in. And it's like, is it that simple? It is. You control what goes on up here. And if you can use that sort of metaphor analogy, you're going to find it a lot easier to control negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So negative thoughts are part of internal dialogue. Sam, what's the difference between internal dialogue and external dialogue?
Well, internal dialogue is it's literally inside our brain. Like it's just this story goes around and round and round. Now, if you look at something that goes around and round and round, there's no off ramp. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just stuck in this loop that is just going on and on and on forever. External dialogue is how I use what's going on inside of me around me. So to how I talk to my partner, how I parent my kids, how I react to the person who pushes in front of me at the shopping center or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's basically just internal is what you think and external is what you say. Now, I think it's important for men to understand that if you have negative thoughts, that's okay and that's normal. As a man, if you have negative thoughts, we often judge those things, but it's normal to have negative thoughts. You're allowed to have thoughts that take your power away. The challenge is those are internal dialogue thoughts. They happen in here. Acknowledge the thought, but as soon as you make it external, that's when you give it power.
Yeah.
So if you think you're not good enough and then you say, oh, fuck, I'm not good enough out loud, you've now given that thought power. You've entertained it. If you have the thought that you can't find good staff, that's it. That's an okay thought. You're allowed to have an employee leave. We had that happen in our business and go, I can't find good staff in your head. But as soon as you tell people and you start telling everyone, I can't find good staff, I can't find good staff, you start to perpetuate that belief system and that internal dialogue goes external. When you have a negative thought, you get to say the opposite out loud. You get to say the positive thought. I can't find good staff. I'm going to find good stuff. The thought is I can't find good stuff. The language you say out loud is how can I find good stuff? The thought is it's too hard. The language is cool. How can I make it easier? You start to reframe and rewrite the way you do this dialogue. How many of us have been the complainer before?
Yep.
Do you know someone in your life that every time you're around them, they just fucking complain? They're energy vampires. Family members?
No comment.
Right? No comment, right? Yeah, no comment. I mean, this happens a lot and we've all done it, right? And the challenge is when you do this, it often happens subconsciously. So like you said earlier, the imprinting stage, most of who we are as men, if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, if you get angry or triggered at your kids, if you work way too much, a lot of that stuff is built up from your childhood. Obviously, you weren't taking drugs when you were a child, hopefully. But the way you observe things and the way you started to do certain patterns, like getting angry, getting triggered, watching your dad work too much, not having your dad around, all these stories and belief systems were built, right? Now, what's really interesting about this, most of this is subconscious, meaning you don't think about it. So when you get angry and yell at the kids, it happens in a split second. When you get into an argument with your wife, it happens within a split second. And then you have that time afterwards where you reflect and you slow down. You're like, oh, fuck, I did that thing again. It's all because of the beliefs and the language. So if you believe that when you come home and the house is a mess, your wife doesn't care and she doesn't appreciate you, that's going to influence the behaviors.
Yeah.
If you believe your children are acting up when they're playing their age, it's going to influence you yelling. If you believe that you can't find good staff because you've lost 3 team members in the last few months, it's going to influence your behavior, right? So one of the things that you can do at Empowered Man and what we teach all of our clients is using something called a reframe. Now, Sam, how would you describe a reframe? Because it's the most powerful thing we've ever taught, right? It changes your world forever.
Yeah. A reframe it's taking a story or taking a situation, a belief, and it's literally flipping the coin.
Yeah.
It's looking at the other side. How could I see this differently? And as a result, how then could I act differently, show up differently? That's in a nutshell what I say is a reframe.
Yeah, exactly. If you think about it, what you're doing is you're reframing, you're putting a different box around the situation. So everything outside of a box exists. Like imagine you're in a box and the only thing inside of that box is what's in that box. Everything outside of that box is infinite. Like it's the universe. It's a little bit confusing, but like there's a box and there's everything outside of the box. So when you put a frame around something, you isolate it. So if you have a problem in your relationship, you're arguing, you're not having enough sex, you can say everything's fucked in my relationship, or you can frame the specific problem in your relationship. So now you're not trying to deal with the entire relationship. You're trying to deal with a specific problem in a specific frame. Now, the challenge here is when we focus on specific frames, a lot of the time we get very negative. It's not intentional. It's default. It's the way you think default. It's your belief systems, right? So let's say you have a negative thought in your relationship. My wife doesn't care. She never wants to have sex. She doesn't love me anymore, whatever it may be. You know, she doesn't put out. So we put that in the frame and we ask ourselves, okay, cool. Well, how can we turn this into a positive frame? How can we look at the situation differently to rewrite the belief, right? So how can we reframe the things that take our power away? In life, if you have any thought that makes you feel less happy, less fulfilled, less successful, worse relationships, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, then you get to decide, because it is in your power to go, you know what? I'm going to choose a different way of looking at things. And this sounds insane, right? Because men are like, how's that possible? One of the biggest shifts in my life that changed the empowered man forever, and that's what helped so many guys, is I did something called psychotherapy. I'm a master psychotherapist. Sam is a master psychotherapist. We've both done psychology, and psychology didn't work for either of us. Oh, I don't know about you, Sam, it didn't work for me, right? They went to a degree for 4 years. We did something called psychotherapy, which is what Tony Robbins does. If you know Tony Robbins, one of the biggest psychotherapists in the world. And what I learned there within 8 days, people go, oh, you didn't get a piece of paper. You didn't do a diploma for 4 years. No, I didn't. Get over it. Fucking like, seriously. We focus on results, not pieces of paper. What I learned was, and it changed my life forever, that you can choose what you believe about anything.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was like, I've got anxiety, I've got depression, I'm an alcoholic. And they're like, when did you decide those things? Excuse me? When did you decide that you have anxiety? What do you mean, when did I decide I have anxiety? I get anxious. Yeah, you get anxious. That's not your identity. Like, when did you decide that you have anxiety? Well, no, you don't. Can you decide that you don't have anxiety? How could I decide I don't have anxiety? Well, have you tried? Oh, anxiety sucks so much. When did you decide that it sucks? Have you considered that anxiety is your body telling you that something's wrong? This light bulb goes off. See how we're just reframing the situation? Oh, I'm so depressed. We have guys that come to us. Bill, one of our clients, his wife and him is married for years, 20 plus years. His wife says, I don't love you anymore. I can't do this anymore. He's in a hospital. He's trying to recover. And he's like, I don't know how I can get through. I don't know if I can be here anymore. I'm like, well, what if this is the best thing to happen to you? Oh, well, the doctors have put me on pills for depression. I'm like, you're not depressed. You're going through a separation. Do you think it's normal that you might feel like angry and sad? You don't need pills for that. You know, people will get up in their arms now and go, oh, well, that's so dumb. You can't give medical recommendations. I'm not. I'm saying, is it normal to feel depressed, stressed, and angry if you're going through a separation? Of course. So how can we look at the thing from a different angle? All of this that we're talking about comes down to what you believe. Whatever the mind of man can believe and bring itself to conceive, it can achieve. So how do we reframe negative thoughts? Because it really is as simple, my friends, as doing this. If you want to improve your business, click your fingers. If you want to fix your marriage, click your fingers. If you want to be a better dad, click your fingers. If you want to make more money, click your fingers. If you want to find good stuff, click your fingers. It's like a magic wand. Yeah. You can change the way you think within a second. And that is a superpower. So when I had a team member leave last month in the business, I'm like, fuck, this sucks. What am I going to do about it? In the past, I would have focused on it for a month. When I get stressed and that guy's wife causes him to leave an amazing program that's changing his life, and I feel this guilt and this shame, I would have got drunk that night. I'm like, cool, what can I do? I message Sam. And I'm like, what can we do to ensure this doesn't happen again? It's all about the language. Now, the problem is there are a few different types of language that we use to frame our beliefs. Because if you think about it, your mindset is all just language. We don't walk around going, ooh, ooh, ah, ah, goo, goo, ga, ga. We don't do that. We speak in language. The thoughts create feelings. The feelings cause us to take actions and react. So the first type of language that you got to start looking out for is restrictive language. What is restrictive language, Sammy boy?
Restrictive language is, well, it's in the title. It restricts us. It's the I need to, I
Yep.
should, I have
Yep.
to. It's the pressure
Yep.
language.
Yep.
I need to
Yeah.
do this. I have, I hear it all the time. I have to do this program to change my life.
Yep.
I should have learnt this earlier. I have to get up early each day. I have to repair my marriage. I have to. And it just restricts us completely.
Yeah. I'm so stressed. I need to get this done.
Yeah.
I have these deadlines. They should have been done ages ago, right? So if you think about it, when you should all over yourself and when you masturbate all over yourself, masturbate, should, not shit and masturbate, get your mind out of the gutter. What ends up happening is you create stress within yourself. You do, right? Restrictive language creates restrictions in your life. If you need to get something done, then there's this part of you that whatever else you're doing, you can't really be in the moment because there's this pressing issue right there. It's like, I should do this. I should be better. I need to do more. I need to have more. I have to get this done. It's like, okay, how can we reframe that restrictive language to a different type of language? So if you are the type of man who does this, if you think your kids or your wife need to do something or should be better, or you must make, just ask yourself, where am I using this type of language? And what's really cool about this podcast and this belief system training and mindset and bulletproofing your mind is you're going to start to see this everywhere. Now, everywhere, I'm going to say that one more time because we're going to come back to the word everywhere. You're going to start to see it. You're going to start to see it in so many places. And you're going to, fuck, I do this a lot. I really do this a lot. So the reframe for restrictive language, every time you say, and you'll see me do this on podcasts, you'll see me do it with my wife, my clients, every time you have the internal language and you say it out loud, I need to, you get to reframe it, meaning you get to say it differently. And this is how you do that. I get to. I get to get this work done. I get to pick my kids up from school. I get to fix my marriage. I get to work hard in the business. I am choosing this. We seem to think as men, especially business owners who are busy, that we're restricted. We seem to think that we're in this prison. We choose all of it. Even if you're an employee, you choose to work there. Sure, you got to pay the bills, you got to provide for your family, but no one's got a gun to your head. There is no need. The only things you need to do as a modern day man are drink water, eat, and shit. Like those are you can get by without eating, sleep, drink water, and shit, right? And piss, right? It's not that difficult. So I get to. It's a privilege you get to be grateful for, right? I get to do this. I'm grateful for it. If you can just change any challenge in your life, something that you find hard or you don't want to do, that you need to do, you just say, I get to do this. I'm grateful for it. Because there are people who don't have legs or arms who want to do that and they can't do it. There are people who have lost their children and they can't do it. It's just a perspective shift, isn't it? It's just shifting the way you look at situations. Second type of language, global language. What's global language? What does that mean? Does it mean you like travel?
Tony, unfortunately, I'm going to have to step away for a second.
That's okay. Sam, jump off. I'll do this. Yeah, Sam's got a impressing issue. Cool. So let's continue. Global language, right? Global language is language where you say things that are all encompassing. So when you say, this always happens to me, my wife never gives me love. I never get appreciation. No one understands. Everyone is pissing me off right now. I can't rely on anyone. There's nothing I can do. Everything is fucked. All the people around me are dickheads. There's no options here, none, right? When you have this global language, it's also very restrictive because think about it. If you say, my wife never gives me love, then you're focusing on the fact that that belief system is true and you're not going to see the time she gives you love. My wife and I used to do this all the time. Rosie would say to me, oh, you never listen. I'm like, well, what about the times that I do listen? But she wouldn't see that. If you've ever helped out around the house or done something for your family and your wife picks at the thing you haven't done and doesn't notice that one thing, it's extremely triggering, right? So the question you get to ask yourself is, where in your life are you using global language? Again, internal dialogue, it goes on in your head. Where are you using it externally as well? I can never find good stuff. My kids don't understand. They never understand. Everyone's fucked. I can't rely on anyone. Where are you using global language? And the way that you get to the root of reframing this one and changing the belief system is whenever you use that language, ask yourself a simple question. Where or when is there an exception? So I can't rely on anyone. Okay, well, who can I rely on? My wife does nothing to support me or appreciate me. What has she done in the past to appreciate me? Oh, you can never find good staff. Well, when have I found good staff? Oh, this always happens to me. Well, are there moments where it doesn't happen to you? Right? Everything's fucked. Okay, well, what's going well? You're looking for the exception. You're looking for specific examples or cases of the opposite of that belief system. And you'll notice this, we do it a lot. Like everything's fucked. I can never get it done on time. How can you? When can you? You're looking for exceptions in cases of the opposite. The third type of language and belief system that goes on up here is one of the most toxic. And I did this for years with my wife, Rosie. It's called blame language. Blame language is when you allocate responsibility and ownership of your own feelings and thoughts and results to things or people outside of you. And we've all done this, right? This is when you use language like, they made me feel, right? My wife made me feel that way. No one can make you feel anything. They influence your behavior, but the person who chooses to react, even if it's a negative reaction, is you. No one's pulling the puppet strings. Your children, your employees, your staff, your friends, your family, your wife. No one's got you by a chokehold. So if you say things like, he made me feel, you get to reframe it to, I chose to react. Now, can your wife be nasty or a bitch? And can she say something horrible and you feel angry? Of course. But she didn't make you feel. Her behavior influenced you choosing to react a certain way. When you take ownership, you reframe that one. Another one is, it's their fault. It's the government's fault. It's my children's fault. It's my employee's fault. As soon as you allocate fault to other people for what you're getting in your life, you lose. You get to think as a man, I take full responsibility for my results. I can't change people. I can influence them. I can't control people. I take responsibility. It's no one else's fault. It's not even my fault. I just take responsibility. Or because of them, because of this, because of that. We look at excuses for why we can't achieve our goals. Another one is others are letting me down. So you say others cannot let me down unless I allow them to. Oh, I feel like he's letting me down. He can't let me down unless I allow him to. See how it's taking ownership? It's like no one can make me feel anything unless I allow them to. It's no one else's fault unless I allow it to be. You take responsibility. And then we have a combination. I can't rely on anyone. So now we're blaming other people for not being able to rely on them. And we use that global language, I can't rely on anyone. So what are some examples where I was able to rely on someone? So if you're using blame language, global language, always never, and restrictive language, I need to, I guarantee you're going to have a lot more misery and stress in your life. And it's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your external dialogue and how you communicate with your family, your team, your staff. It's going to affect your results. And the final type of language that really restricts a lot of men is self-defeating language. Okay? Self-defeating language is language that brings you down and takes away your power. Now, some of the most common language that we hear with our clients, and we work with guys who are very successful, is I can't do it. It won't work. I can't find good stuff. I don't know what to do. I don't have enough time. Now remember, your beliefs dictate your behaviors. And if your beliefs don't align with your desires, you're not going to achieve shit. You're not going to take action to achieve it. So how many men say it's hard to find good staff in their business and therefore they don't even look, right? We hired 8 people in the last 6 months. We found each of them in like 2 weeks. We just went on all the different platforms, Facebook, social media, etc. Right? So how do we reframe these? I can't do it. Again, look for the exception. I can do it. How can I do it? Every time you think you can't do something, it won't work, ask yourself how. How? What are examples of times where you could do it, right? So let's work through this together. I can't do it. Reframe. I can do it. How can I do it? It won't work. It will work. How can I make it work? I don't know what to do. I do know, I just haven't figured it out yet. How can I figure it out? I don't have enough time. What can I do to create enough time? I am not good enough. What are some examples of where I was good enough? I worked with a guy a few years ago, really successful in business, but he just felt like he was never enough for his wife and his kids. Very common belief for a lot of men, right? So I just sat with him for an hour and he tried psychologists, therapists, nothing helped. I sat with him for an hour and I just asked him, I said, man, like walk me through the last 20 years. What are examples of times where you did something well? And he's like, oh, well, my entire team, my staff, they always give me great reviews. I'm like, cool. What about when you were an employee? Did you get business reviews? Did you get quarterly reviews? Like, yeah. How did they go? His response is, oh, they went great. They always told me I was amazing. I'm like, cool. So they told you that you're amazing. You achieved this, this, and this. And I'm like, cool. So can you sit here and tell me that you're not good enough? And it's like this light bulb went off in his head, 20 years of feeling this way. And he's like, oh, yeah, I guess I am good enough. So you're looking for evidence of the opposite belief. What is evidence from others saying the opposite? Big one for men. I'm not worthy of love. What are some examples where I received love and felt worthy of it? I am useless. What things am I good at? I'm shit with technology. Where am I good with technology? I always fuck this up. Have there been times where I did this well? So you're just reframing the way that you look at language. You're reframing the way you think. And this is the beautiful thing about being a modern day man. You will achieve the greatest level of success in your business, your health, your relationships when you take control of this. The greatest part of being a modern day man is that no one controls what you think. There are influences. We can blame the government, our partner, our business, our career. We can blame the people around us, but the only person in control of your thoughts is you. And if you have negative thoughts, you get to decide to reframe them and to choose something better. When you have negative thoughts, you choose a more positive thought. It's that simple. It's a click of a fingers. You choose something greater. That means you feel better and you take the right actions to achieve your goals. And you do that enough times, you achieve the massive levels of success in your health, wealth, and relationships. But it starts with taking control of this. When you have a negative thought, say, I'm not letting you in. I'm choosing the opposite. I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I can't do this. I can do this. You start choosing more positive thoughts and you win as a modern day man. Because realistically, if you believe that you choose your thoughts, it's a belief system. You believe that and you start to practice it, then you become bulletproof. Nothing can fuck with you. A problem happens in your business, you figure out how you're going to solve it. An argument happens in your relationship, you look at it from a frame of positivity and you go, how am I going to allow this to make me better as a husband? You yell at the kids, you feel this guilt, and you rewrite the story to, the kids are just acting their age. I get to apologize. I get to level up and grow. That is the power of beliefs, your worldview, the power of reframing the shit that doesn't serve you. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the biggest factors in my success. My clients' success have made over $500 million. It's been one of the biggest factors in my relationship with Rosie, where we're constantly learning about each other. We still have arguments here and there. We still have disconnection, but we're constantly changing the way we think, and the way that we operate. So if you've listened this far, it means that something resonated with you. It's probably the fact that you want to control this, right? It's very difficult to do without training. What's really cool is you can turn this around in like 3 or 4 weeks. So if you want to bulletproof your mind, if you want to change the way you operate and the way you think, the best way that you can possibly do that is by getting support. There'll be a link down below where you'll be able to book a coaching session with our Empowered Man team, where we literally build out the roadmap for you on how to take control of your health, physically and mentally, how to reignite your relationships, and how to grow your business without sacrificing the rest of your life. So if you got value from this, please drop a comment down below, let us know. Give it a thumbs up or 5 stars wherever you're listening. And if you want to work with us and become one of the success stories who does this, bulletproofing their mind, then simply let us know. I'll see you next week for the Empowered Man podcast. Hey, brother, I hope you got a ton of value from that podcast. If you would like to work with us personally and get some of the best content we've launched for our clients who have invested thousands of dollars, then go and complete our 7-day Empowered Man Challenge. This mission will completely transform your life. If it doesn't, you won't have to pay a cent. It's only $37, and it is game-changing if you want to take back control. So if you want to find balance between business, family, and life, if you want the relationship, the health, the wealth that you deserve, then go to elitebusinessman.com/challenge. That's elitebusinessman.com/challenge and take up this challenge to take back control of your life.